Are you curious about who pays a real estate agent's commission for their services? Would you be surprised to know that it depends on which side of the transaction you're on? And would you be surprised to know there are pressures a-boiling? There is gurgling under the surface about changing the way real estate commissions are disclosed. In Georgia, in Metro Atlanta, it is typical. It is traditionally the responsibility of the seller to pay the real estate commission. What trade groups are saying is that the seller paying the commission increases or inflates the sales price of a home, and therefore it is not advantageous to a buyer. So there is some discussions about separating. So what happens is the listing broker enters into an agreement with the seller, and then the listing broker agrees, because they're in a cooperative multiple listing service, the listing broker agrees to share their commission with whoever represents the buyer's agent. The reality is, when you think about it, buyers, for the most part, pay real estate commission. And I know if you're listening, you're saying, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Well, if the seller wanted to sell the house for $500,000 and they knew they were going to pay a 6% commission, that's a $30,000 commission on a $500,000 sale. The truth is by the time they sell it for $500,000 and pay the $30,000, they got $470,000 left over. So if the buyer didn't need anybody to help and the seller didn't need anybody to help, it's possible that they would sell it for $470,000. So the seller would sell it for $470,000, and the buyer would buy it. So the price, if you will, is inflated by $30,000, and the seller pays it. Now, there is some gurgling under the surface that is going to require the buyer side commissions to be displayed in listing services. And I personally believe that when a buyer needs to make a decision as to whether or not they need representation, and a seller makes that same decision, that people will make better decisions. I certainly believe that everybody needs to be represented by someone who is knowledgeable and competent in a real estate transaction. It is a big deal. The sellers pay the real estate commission. Technically, the buyer pays the amount of the real estate commission more for the home than the seller would take otherwise, because that's all the seller gets at closing is the sales price less the real estate commission and any other expenses. Jordan and Steve, if that did not answer your question and you have more questions or need more information, 770-497-0000.